back. You're watching The Money Show on ET. Now, we just had a discussion on all the announcements by the Reserve Bank of India to make loan payments easier for you, the viewers, in these tough times where cash is a bit difficult to come about because a lot of us are quarantined, staying away from work, and hence there may be some difficulty, especially for us whose income is variable and who depends on, daily movement. Okay, now, of course, while you guys are quarantined, working from home, socially distancing yourselves in order to flatten the curve, if you want to use your time productively, why not log on to the CAMS, extract your mutual fund portfolio, take a look at it and see if it's aligned with your financial objectives, whether you want to buy a dream home for yourself, whether you want to buy a snazzy car, educate your child, or even for that matter, save up for retirement. A mutual fund portfolio can help you achieve all of those goals. But the question is, in such turbulent times where the equity markets have been falling left, right and center, causing significant damage to the value of your mutual fund investments, how should you go about managing your money? Well, I am joined now by Hemant Rustagi of Wiseinvest Advisors to take us through this. Mr. Rustagi, thank you for joining in. I hope you, your loved ones are safe at home and keeping good health. Let's start off first then with this one common question that I'm sure you as well have received from a lot of your clients. Markets are down. Should I pause my SIP? Should I decrease the SIP quantum? What should I do? Mr. Rustagi, what's your simple advice to your clients?
Well, Mubina, let me say that these are very, very difficult time. And I would say difficult time for both experienced as well as new investors. Obviously, even more difficult for all those investors who started investing a few years ago, whether they invested lump sum money, whether they invested through SIP, they're seeing negative returns. And even the experienced investors, even though they may have seen the falls in the market, but I don't think they've seen this kind of fall. I mean, the way sharply the markets have fallen, I think it's been very, very difficult time. But the thing is, especially when you invest in equities or equity-related fund or any market-linked product, especially when you invest in mutual funds, I think the important thing every investor needs to remember is that you need to have patience, because these instruments, these asset classes are more volatile than your traditional options like bank fixed deposits or small saving schemes. So obviously, when it get into that, and we all know that volatility is a very natural phenomenon in the market, but it falls to a varying degree. I mean, like I said earlier, the kind of fall that we are seeing now, not many investors have seen it, or we haven't seen this kind of fall actually. So it's important for investors to be patient because it's a proven fact that any investors who have patience and perseverance is the one actually, who makes good money from equity portfolio in the long run. So I think it's important for investors to have patience. It can be quite difficult. It can be quite tricky, but I think it's important to actually have that. And if you keep your patience and you continue investment, you will see better days. And surely, like you said, it's important that you continue this process during this difficult time, because let's not forget, why do we get into investing through SIP? For two reasons. One is we don't want to commit a lot of money at one particular level of the market. And second is we want to build a portfolio through regular contribution. So while you may continue investing through a regular contribution, these are also times when you invest at much lower level, which means that in the long run, you benefit from averaging. So it's important, like I said earlier, difficult times, it can be quite tricky to remain focused, but I think that's what investors need to do. And as we have seen in the past, once the market improves, we will see that portfolio will start looking much better.
Well, sometimes it's best to just simply do nothing. That as well, I suppose, takes a lot of courage for our viewers. But Mr. Rustagi, like we said, right, these are tough times, and a lot of our viewers may be facing cash flow situations, right? I mean, hence the RBI, the government as well, has been announcing a series of measures to help individuals with that. Is such a crisis the ideal time to essentially dip into your emergency funds, which I hope a lot of our viewers may have set aside?
Well, as you rightly mentioned, I think RBI has announced certain very important steps, which will, I think, to some extent mitigate the hardship of especially those who have borrowed money, who have EMIs to pay on term loans. And so clearly these steps will help. But let's not forget one thing, that why do you create emergency fund? You create emergency fund to tide over any financial exigency that you may face. And this is obviously that kind of time. But whether you should dip into that or not will depend on each individual's personal situation. There may be many investors who may still have money, but they don't really have to dip into that. There may be investors, who do not have regular income, and if they have built an emergency fund, they may have to dip into that. So clearly, it will depend on your personal situation, but it can be quite difficult for those who do not have an emergency fund. So clearly, for them, it's going to be slightly difficult. So for important thing for them again is not to panic and look around in your portfolio. There will be some investment which may not have reacted so much to the market situation. Try and using that for some time, and once the situation gets better, maybe 3 to 6 months from now, and start reinvesting money for the earlier goal from where you have taken out the money. So clearly, like I said, whether you need to dip into that emergency fund or not will clearly depend on each investor's individual situation.
All right. Guess what? We've already started. Our phone lines are already ringing. So just to remind all our viewers, if you have any questions or queries with respect to investing in mutual funds, you can call in 24990300. And let me take on board our very first query. Aman from Delhi joins us right now on the phone line. Hi, Aman. Good evening. What's your query?
Hello, Movina. Hi, Mr. Rustagi. मेरा क्वेश्चन है, मेरा सिप्स चल रहा है 80,000 per month. It's in Axis Multicap 10,000, Invesco Small Cap 10,000, SBI Focused 20,000, DSP Equity 10,000, Mirai Focused 15,000 and Tata Large and Mid Cap 15,000. मुझे इसके बारे में जानना है कि ये मेरा जो इन्वेस्टमेंट पोर्टफोलियो है ये सही है कि नहीं, और मुझे इन्फ्यूज करना है और कैपिटल इसमें अप्रोक्सीमेटली 10 लाख रुपीस इन फंड्स में मैं कैसे करूं, इनके या बाय वीकली इन्वेस्टमेंट करूं या पर मंथ करूं, उसके लिए मुझे 10 लाख रुपीस और करना है. और मेरा साथ में डेट पोर्टफोलियो है, इट्स इन पीपीएफ एंड एफडी ऑफ रुपीस 10 लाख रुपीस, एंड आई ऑल्सो वांट टू क्रिएट एन इमरजेंसी फंड. वो मैं इस पे कर सकता हूँ कि सिर्फ मेरा सेविंग्स अकाउंट एंड फिक्स डिपॉजिट्स भी इमरजेंसी को बीट कर देगा, और मुझे इसमें मेरे इक्विटी पोर्टफोलियो में मुझे 10 लाख रुपीस इन्फ्यूज करना है कैपिटल. वो कैसे करूँ, मंथली करूँ या वीकली करूँ, और किन फंड्स में करूँ, इसी में ही करूँ कि कुछ नए फंड्स और ऐड करूँ?
अंडरस्टूड.
एंड मेरा पोर्टफोलियो 40% राइट नाउ इट्स डाउन है अप्रोक्सीमेटली.
आई एम अज्यूमिंग अमिन कि आपका
is equity portfolio right now corpus is 15 lakhs.
Of course, I understand. Obviously, NAVs, yes. NAVs will be down right now because the market as well has fallen quite a bit. Okay, so he's a long-term investor. I'm assuming he wants to increase his investment by another 10 lakh rupees. I suppose he wants to take advantage of the lower prices of a lot of stocks and hence NAVs. Okay, so Mr. Rustagi, firstly, 80,000 rupees per month is anyway being invested in the funds that he mentioned, 6 of them. Firstly, what do you make of them? He has a nice chunky corpus of 10 lakh rupees in debt, also PPF, FDs, etc. And he wants to create an emergency fund. Now that money lying in a savings account, is that sufficient, is what he wants to understand. I mean, how much money should you keep in an emergency fund? Where should you keep it is the other question. And again, how should he invest that additional 10 lakh rupees that he wants to put in, Mr. Rustagi?
Okay, let me begin with emergency fund. Emergency fund basically, like we discussed earlier, is created to tide over any financial exigency. So important thing is that wherever you keep your money, the money has to be liquid. It has to be safe, relatively safe. So obviously one place where this money can be kept is saving bank account. But obviously, as we know that the rate of interest that you get is very low over there. So there are options to invest in liquid fund or ultra short-term fund of mutual funds, where you can expect to get slightly higher return, and money is quite liquid. You get money at 1 day's notice. So you should look at one of these options clearly. Like I said, liquidity is very, very important there. How much money should be there in emergency fund? Typically, I would say around 6 months expenses. When I talk about expenses, that include your monthly expenses, or if you have any EMI or something that has to be paid, that also should be considered. So make sure that if something were to happen to your regular inflow, then you should be able to lead a life the way you're living right now for a period of 6 months without disturbing your long-term investment process. So I think that has to be the objective of creating emergency fund. So second, he's investing around 80,000 rupees per month in equity funds. Broadly, I would say portfolio is good. I'm not. I would recommend maybe, changing Tata Large and Mid Cap Fund. There are better funds in that category. You can look at that. He's investing around 80,000, which means his annual investment is around 9,60,000. And the money that he wants to invest is around 10 lakh, which is almost equal to, I would say, the money that he's investing in a year. So the current levels, I would say, are very attractive for investing. Anybody who wants to invest for a longer period, well, they can be still fall, the volatility can still continue. So it's very difficult to say whether this is the bottom of the market or this is the right time to, but definitely this is a good time to invest a lump sum. And the reason why I'm recommending a lump sum for you is because you're investing already 9,60,000 through SIP. Now, how that 10 lakh has to be invested need not be, invested in one go. My recommendation would be maybe you begin with 30-40% of your money. You should be investing in the existing fund. Some of the fund in your portfolio are quite good. You can invest in those. And as you may be aware that right now, there is no physical transaction that is allowed. So if you have online facility, if you're registered on NSE or BSE, and if you have net banking facility or if you're given a mandate, it's possible for you to invest even during this period when the physical applications are not being accepted. So like I said, invest lump sum, provided you have a long-term horizon there, and start investing with 30-40%. Wait for some time. There may still be an opportunity to invest at lower level. And if the volatility continues, invest in 2 or 3 tranches from here on.
Okay, all right. Don't do lump sum investments. Try and spread it out. I think that's also extremely important because nobody can time the market, right? So it's important you don't do lump sum. Very quickly, moving on. Rohit Gaur from Delhi as well joins us on the phone line. Hi, Rohit. Good evening. What's your query?
Good evening, Mr. Rustagi. I am a central government employee. I am 49 years old. Primarily, this question is about creating a retirement corpus. I have started investing 20 months back. That is August 2018. I started investing in 5 SIPs. Now, I am investing through MFU. All of them are direct plans. ICICI Nifty Next 50 Index Fund, in which I am investing 9,000 rupees per month. Then Parak long-term equity 20,000. Then Mirai Asset Emerging Blue Chip 20,000, and Kotak Standard Multi-Cap 11,000 per month, and lastly SBI Small Cap 12,000 per month. So this makes up 75,000 rupees of SIP per month. Now there are 3 specific questions. First one is your feedback on the general construct of the portfolio. Second, the ICICI Prudential Nifty Next 50. I want to invest 1 lakh rupees lump sum in this. And third, it is regarding the Kotak Standard Multi-Cap. Do we need to change this because of the enormous size of the AUM that they have? And that is also the one which has fallen the most in my current portfolio.
All right, long-term investor, 5 SIP, specific questions. Again, similar question, right? Wants to do lump sum or SIP. Mr. Rustagi, again, this whole bit on lump sum and SIP, your take on that. And also, secondly, he's brought about another point with respect to the size of AUM. Should that, how important a consideration to the size of a mutual fund or the AUM be when an individual is choosing a mutual fund, Mr. Rustagi?
Well, let's begin with looking at the quality of the portfolio. There are 5 funds, and I would say all the 5 funds are good. He has one index fund, which is Nifty Next 50. That's where he wants to invest a lump sum money. Obviously, if you see over the last 2 years, the market, when it was really doing well, there were only few stocks that were taking the market up. Last 3 or 4 months, we saw mid cap and small cap joining the party, but then after this outbreak of coronavirus, we have seen a huge fall in the market. So clearly, if you look at next 50 stocks, it's a good place to invest money at these levels. Investing 1 lakh as lump sum, I mean, look at, he's investing around 75,000 rupees per month. So which means that investing roughly around 9 lakh rupees a year. So investing 1 lakh in one go, I don't see any problem, because it's a small portion of what you're investing on a yearly basis. So you can definitely invest at 1 lakh. You can wait for some time. It need not be immediately. Like I said, the market will continue to remain volatile for some time, and you'll get opportunities to invest at some decent level. So that's one part. The second part is, you talked specifically about Kotak Standard Multi-Cap Fund. It's one of the, I would say, most consistent fund in the multi-cap category. Your concern about the size of the AUM or the size of the fund, well, it does matter certainly, but let's understand the composition of this fund. Roughly around 60-70% of the money is invested in the large cap, and the rest is invested in mid and small. The size matters for funds like small cap and mid cap, because sometimes the liquidity can be an issue. But for the large cap funds or portion of the portfolio, there is no issue at all, because there is enough liquidity in these stocks for any fund manager to buy or sell any quantity. So I don't really see the kind of composition that Kotak Standard Multi-Cap has, that the size will impact. In fact, you see there are a couple of funds maybe as big as that and bigger than these, which are there in the market. And if you see, globally also, there are some of the funds are much bigger in size than this. So like I said, if you're looking at a sector fund, if you're looking at a thematic fund, there I think opportunities sector to invest when the fund manager has a large corpus. But in a multi-cap fund, which has a bias toward large cap, I don't really see a problem. And like I said earlier, this particular fund is one of the most consistent fund. It has a wonderful quality portfolio. So my recommendation would be that you should continue invested in that.
Okay, great. Well, unfortunately, with that, we're not going to be able to take any more queries. Mr. Rustagi, thank you so much for very patiently helping our viewers out with their queries and for joining in, of course, on The Money Show. Folks, I hope you stay safe, stay quarantined, be at your homes. And of course, one hobby is take a look at your mutual fund portfolio, which we on The Money Show will get reviewed every day. Quick break, come right back.